What is DNS? Domain name? Is it domain name system, server, or service? Domain name system, domain name server, domain name service. What it is? Server? Confused? It is system. Yes. Domain name system. That's why we say DNS server. Okay. So your DNS stands for domain name system. Now, why do we require your DNS? All of you have smartphones, right? In your phones, you have the contact book. What will happen if you do not have the contact book?
Can I save the contact number?
No, obviously you cannot save the contact numbers, but
Cannot recognize them.
what will happen if you do not have the facility of contact book in your phone? Correct. You'll have to remember each and every number for each and every person you want to call. And how many numbers you can remember? Hardly 5, 10, max 2, max 20. Correct. These many numbers, but after that you'll start getting confused. Right? Same thing there is there with our internet also, our networks also. Whenever we are going to access Google, what we say in the Google? Google.com, Facebook.com, Instagram.com, Twitter.com, right? So, is the communication happening through the name? No. We have studied so far that entire communication on the networks is happening through the IP addresses. Entire communication on the internet is happening through the IP address. So if your DNS service is not there, what will happen? You will have to remember IP address for each and every website you want to visit. Okay, you want to know what is the IP of Google? Go to the command prompt. Say ping google.com. This is the IP of Google. Now let's say you want to visit Google. So you'll have to say this IP. See, if I go to the browser, this time I will not say google.com. I'll just paste the IP. Hit enter. Do you see what did I access? Google. Okay. So instead of remembering this thing, I had to remember what? IP addresses I had to remember if DNS was not there. Okay. Because see, I said google.com. Who is giving me this IP address? My DNS server. Okay. Then twitter.com. Another IP. Okay. Facebook.com. Some different IP. Correct. Ping. Let's say duckduckgo.com. Some different IP. So any website I want to visit, what I had to do? I had to remember the IP addresses. And how many IP addresses I could remember? If you see these IPs 40, 81, 94, 43, 157, 240, 228, 35. Then 104, 22, 244, 42, 193. 142, 250, 195, 174. So how many IP addresses you could remember? Hardly 5. Correct. And you'll start getting confused. Okay, what was the IP for Google? So this facility of so that you can access the internet through the names. This facility is provided by the DNS. Now, what is a DNS? DNS is kind of, you can say, a contact book only, a record only, that is having entries of all the IP addresses with their names. Now, whenever we are typing the name, okay, this DNS server is giving the IP address to our PC. And then our PC is directly communicating with the IP address, not with the name. Okay, not with the name. So your DNS stands for domain name system, and it resolves IP address to, names to IP address. Your domain name to IP address, and also IP address to domain name. Both the things. Okay. Then DNS is application layer protocol, and DNS works on port number 53, uses TCP and UDP both. Now your task is when it uses TCP and when it uses UDP. Because this question is mostly asked in the interviews. That in what case or when your DNS uses TCP and when it is using UDP. Okay. Now in our DNS, we are having different servers. Okay. So there are different types of DNS server like a DNS resolver. Then we have root name server, then top level domain name server and authoritative name server. Now let's say, for example, if I'm going to my browser and if I'm saying that, okay, www.google.com, then how it is accessing. So in my browser, I said what? www.google.com. Now, do you think the list of all the websites in the world can be stored in one server? No, that is not possible. Okay. So that's why we have these different servers. The root name server is the dot, what you see here. This is the root name server. Okay. Now this root name server has the entries that, okay, who is handling .com? It is having the IP address of the servers, that who is handling .com, who is handling .in, who is handling .org, like this. Okay, means your root name server has the list of top level domain name servers. Okay, now whenever my PC will request the resolver, if the resolver has the IP address, well and good. If it doesn't have, it will send a request to where? Root name server. Now the root name server will check, okay, www.google.com. So what kind of website it is? .com. So the root name server will give the IP address for .com server, that you make the request to .com server. That is the top level domain. Now your system or the resolver will make the request to the top level domain name server because it has the IP address of .com top level domain. Okay, that who is handling .com servers. Then this top level domain will have the entries of authoritative name servers, like what is the IP for Google server, what is the IP for Facebook server, what is the IP for let's say Instagram server, like that, or Twitter server, like that. So it will have entries for all the top level domains. Now it is going to give you the IP address for Google server, means the authoritative. So this is basically what? List of authoritative name servers. So you see, this is a step-by-step process. So it has the list of authoritative name server and it will give you the IP for Google, this server. Now your resolver will make the request directly to the authoritative name server. So the authoritative name server will have the IP address like, now Google also have different domains, right? Like docs.google.com, correct? mail.google.com, that is your Gmail, correct? Also will have www.google.com. These entries it will have. And for these entries, it will have the IP addresses. And now this authoritative name server is going to give the IP address to the resolver. The resolver will give the IP address to your PC, and your PC will directly make the request to the particular IP. And now we are able to access the Google. This is how everything is happening. Okay. Now see, there is an example given here. That let's consider in your laptop, you are going and saying, in your laptop, you're going and saying facebook.com, www.facebook.com. Okay. So what will happen? Your PC, first of all, it will check in its own cache. There is something called a DNS cache in your browsers. Okay. So they will check if you have the entry, well and good. They will directly take the entry from your cache and visit the website. Okay. Then if you do not have it in the cache, what will happen? It will request the resolver. Like you said, the IP address is 8.8.8.8.8.8. Okay. So it will send the request to the resolver. That is your ISP, Internet Service Provider. If your Internet Service Provider is having the IP for Google or Facebook, they will give you. Otherwise, they will forward your request to the root name server. Now your request has been forwarded to the root name server. Root name server will check what kind of website it is. .com. So it will give you the IP address for .com TLD server. Now you know that, okay, who is handling .com. So you will make the request to the resolver will make the request to the TLD. Now this TLD will check that where is the Google domain. Okay. And it, sorry, not Google. Here we are talking about Facebook. So where is the Facebook domain? It will return the IP of Facebook authoritative name server. Now you will communicate with the Facebook server, and the Facebook server will give you the IP address for www.facebook.com. And this resolver will forward the IP. First of all, it will make an entry in the cache, then it will forward it to your PC. Okay. Then your PC will directly communicate with the IP address of facebook.com, and you will directly start communicating with the Facebook server. Okay. So you might have noticed this thing that whenever you visit a new website, see right now, if I say google.com, how fast it is opening. Okay. If I go and clear the cache of my browser, it will take some time. Okay. Let me show you. There will be a slight difference in the timing. Okay, because all this DNS process and everything, they happen so fast. But still you will be able to notice a slight difference. So right now, first of all, I'll say google.com. You see? Correct? Now what I'll do, I'll clear the everything. I'm clearing everything. Let me clear once again. All the cookies, cache, everything I cleared. Now if I say google.com, did you notice the difference? There was a slight difference. See, once loaded, and after that, if you say google.com, it is fast. Okay. And if I clear the cache, if I clear it out, then see. Taking time. Why? Because the DNS process and everything, the creating the cache and everything, that is happening again. So that's why this is how your DNS works. This is clear. Okay.